Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to the Attic. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from Mario. Let's listen to what Mario has to say.
Hi Lloyd, this is Mario from Austria. You can of course use this recording for your videos, and I would love to get some insight from you about the situation I am facing currently. I was a Jehovah's Witness for about 20 years. I left Jehovah's Witnesses in 2019 at my own will. Got shunned since then, and also separated from my former partner, and I have two daughters which are 8 and 10 years old. Of course, my former partner takes them to the Kingdom Halls all the time, and I can see that my kids really get sucked into this thing, and I really don't know how far I can go with talking to them. I have a surprisingly very good relationship with her. I can come and go when I want, so there is basically from her side no shunning going on, nothing like that. Which from former friends and other people it's completely different. But yeah, I'm lucky in this regard, you know. But on the other hand, I also don't want to risk my good relationship that I have with her, because this also means access to my kids whenever I want. So I'm facing now a situation where on one hand, I don't want to be silenced, and I don't want to be silent when it comes to my kids, and I want to explain to them in what they're getting into. Sometimes I have possibilities to talk with them, but I can also see now over the last 2 years as they're growing up, they get much more sucked into this, and I have the feeling that they really believe it. Just recently found a paper where they've made some personal comments on themselves, and one of the comments was, "What is my biggest wish in life?" And it was to make Jehovah happy. So I can see that this really it really influences them a lot. And on the other hand, I want to be the person that gives them a complete different insight in life, that helps them to develop an independent mind and to not be just educated by Jehovah's Witnesses and their mother, But it's for me very, very difficult, because I don't know how far I can stretch that, I also noticed that when I start to talk to my kids, very often they're listening to me, but sometimes I get the feeling that they are, trying to avoid the topic, That they are. I had just recently a comment from my big one, which said, "Daddy, can we change topic, please?" So So on one hand, it's like I want to do more, I want to educate them. I want to help them to be free when they're growing up, when they get into the teenager years. On the other hand, I also take myself back, because I don't want to risk my relationship with my ex-partner and also get or lose in a certain kind of way this free access to my kids that I currently have. So it's a very, very difficult situation. And I would love to get some insight from you. What do you think? What would be the best way to approach it? Some people say, wait till they're teenagers, because in the teenager years they start to rebel, and they start to develop their own mind and everything like that. But I'm not really sure. I don't want to wait too long, and then maybe, I don't know, at 12, 13, or 14, they are basically, let's call it, forced to get baptized because Jehovah expects it from them or something. I told them a few things already. I told them about the shunning, and I told them that this is also something they will face in future if they get baptized and have friends in there, and then basically decide to leave the religion. But yeah, I don't know how far this reaches them. So yeah. Anyways, it's not that easy to pack everything into a 5-minute voice recording, but many, many thanks for everything that you do. Many, many thanks for everything you helped me waking up, which I'm always grateful for. And yeah, have a nice day, and I look forward to the next videos. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mario. I really appreciate you calling in and leaving this voicemail. It's a heartbreaking situation and I really do sympathize. However, I must say right off the bat, I think you are, or you seem extraordinarily relaxed about this situation. You certainly sound way more relaxed than I would be if I were in your situation. Quite frankly, if your children are 8 and 10 and they are already basically indoctrinated and making drawings saying that they want to make Jehovah happy, it sounds like in terms of their indoctrination, you're too late. It sounds like, that ship has sailed. And you also seem to be under this misunderstanding that your wife is the gatekeeper for your relationship with your children, which is just not true. So you say, this also means access to my kids, meaning your good relationship with your wife to whom you're separated, if I understand things correctly. That's not how this works. So your ex does not get to dictate in any way, shape, or form the extent to which you have time with your children and the extent to which you are a part of their lives. It's not like she should take priority in this situation when it sounds like you're not even divorced and you don't have any form of custody agreement in place, which really brings me to my main point, which is I think that you are in many cases suffering with a problem that is the result of the situation between you and your ex being unresolved insofar as you are separated rather than divorced. So, I get why it's working for you, and it's certainly very, very important for you and your daughter's mother to be on good terms. It's going to create far less trauma in their lives, and, they're going to end up being benefited by, you and your ex being on good terms. However, it sounds as though this situation where you're separated but not divorced, and in this sort of in-between state, is being exploited by your ex to her advantage to indoctrinate your children. And again, I'm sorry, you say that you've been told by others, wait until they're teenagers. That is terrible advice. Terrible advice. Your children at 8 and 10 are already well into the age category where they would start to be baptized. There are accounts in the literature of Jehovah's Witnesses being baptized as young as 6 or 7. So we're well into, I think you have this in your mind, you have maybe like a dial where it's on green rather than amber, or green or amber. And in my mind, it would be on red, that the situation has already escaped you. I'm really sorry to say that. And I don't want to upset you or unduly alarm you. But from what you're describing, it's too late already, at least as regards the indoctrination of your children. I mean, thankfully, they're not baptized yet. So I guess you could say the situation might be redeemable to some degree. But as soon as the cult has made inroads into the mind of a child to the point where it's able to shape their behavior, they're doing drawings where they're saying, I want to make Jehovah happy. I would argue they're already Jehovah's Witnesses. It's just a matter of the formality of them getting baptized at some point. So hopefully this voicemail can be, well, first of all, a help to other people who are in this situation or might be grappling with these dilemmas. But secondly, hopefully it can be a little bit of a reality check. I don't want to sound patronizing or condescending, but I feel as though you're, again, way too relaxed about the situation, at least compared to how I would be, and possibly a little bit in denial about how serious the situation is. I think that bare minimum, if I were in your shoes, I would be wanting to sit down and have some very frank communication with my ex to explain or reassert the fact that she is not the gatekeeper between you and your children, that you have every right to be in their lives, irrespective of your religious differences. And if she has a problem with you telling it like it is, so if she wants to indoctrinate or try to indoctrinate your children or exploit their childhood to cram religious dogma down their throats, you can't legally stop her from doing that. But neither can she stop you from telling it like it is. And this shouldn't be a case of, oh, well, I don't want to lose access to my children. No one gets to take that away from you, certainly not over this issue. So start with the frank conversation with your ex. And depending on how that goes, you might want to consider bringing your relationship to some kind of resolution in terms of at least considering a divorce. Because what I'm hearing is an irreconcilable or potentially irreconcilable difference between you, namely the fact that she wants to indoctrinate your children into a cult and you don't want that to happen. You know, people have gotten divorced over much less than that. You know, again, it's your life. You get to decide these things. If you want to continue with the status quo and not ruffle any feathers and just be mates and let the situation exist as it is, that's completely your call. But if I were in your shoes, I would be, first of all, thinking, okay, it's already too late. My children are already Jehovah's Witnesses, at least in terms of their beliefs. And second of all, I would be thinking, I need to assert myself here. I need to assert my rights as the father of the children. And I definitely need to assert the fact that I will not be silenced. And just as my wife has a right to try and raise her children with a certain religious ideology, I have a right to raise my children to understand critical thinking skills and have respectful conversations with my children to try and get them to engage these skills as early as possible. You say, for example, that when you have been talking to your daughters, your eldest, who's 10, I think, has said, Daddy, can we change the topic? Well, that's sort of a typical Jehovah's Witness reflex. If they're confronted with information that dismantles their ideology, you know, cognitive dissonance will kick in and they won't want to talk about it. And in that situation, I would be saying, sweetheart, why don't you want to talk about it? It's okay. We don't have to talk about something if it's upsetting you, but I'm really interested to know why this is upsetting you. You know, that's the sort of conversation you should be you should be able to have without your ex deciding for you the extent to which you can talk about these things. So again, hopefully this has been a little bit of a reality check. I really do sympathize with your situation, mate, and I hope that you are able to take some kind of action where you can maybe pull things from the brink, but it's not looking great. Please do update me if you can on how this, again, complicated situation, on how it ends up being rectified, or what you decide to do to rectify it. If you decide to do anything, again, it's entirely your call. I would be interested in a return visit from you, if that's possible. But thank you so much for calling in, and I appreciate your call. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.